Okay, welcome everybody. Good morning. It is Monday, March 28th, 2022. Just getting to the end here of March, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. And every Monday, what we like to do is go up to our high time frames and just see what the high times are telling us after about a week now. So what I want to do is just go in and get rid of these horizontal lines for now. So let me get rid of these rays really quickly. Hope you guys had a good weekend. It was beautiful here in Vegas. Beautiful weather. That should do it. Perfect. So up on the annual chart, we don't really spend a lot of time here. Just wanted to point out that we were down around 50% of last year here, and we've recovered and come up back basically to the all-time highs now. So annual, for whatever it's worth, looking fairly strong there, coming off of the retracement. And up on our 3 month chart, again, it's hard to really say anything new up here because we really haven't moved much outside of the range that that candle has been in. So don't really have much to say on the 3 month either, other than the fact that, we've got a pretty strong bar right now. But that's neither here nor there because this will close in May. So we still have a lot more time. So these higher time frames not really giving us any new information compared to the last few weeks. And then on our monthly, again, we've been watching these wicks down off the bottom of these candles and saying that we're seeing the potential for a turn. And you can see with this new monthly bar for March, which will close in what? We have maybe 2 more days of trading before this closes here. So, if we can get up through the last month's high, which was 45.78.75 here, that will be a better clue for the bulls on this monthly chart. So we'll see what happens over the next 2 days here. Ideally, again, for the bulls, we'll get up through 45.78.75 there. Um, Outside of that, really, again, not much else to say here. We're still trading within the last month's price action and have not broken out so far. So there's nothing new to say up there either. And then when we get to our weekly, let's go ahead and zoom in just a little bit here and see if there's anything else to say about that. And again, there's really nothing new going on the weekly either. So ever since we had that really strong potential bullish reversal bar, we have been kind of assuming there would be an attempt to bounce out and not break that low there at 40.9450 and come up to push to new highs. And as you can see, there was an attempt the week after that. Then we came back down, and now we're really actually finding that strength. The question is, are the bulls going to continue with this momentum to the upside? If they do, we have a couple key levels above that we're going to want to be watching as the market pushes. And so let's go down into our daily here. Remember last week we said there was a bearish divergence back, I guess, around the 22nd, maybe even going into the 23rd there. And we did actually have a little pullback, right? So we pushed up, made a high here on the 22nd, where we got the bearish divergence, and then on the 23rd, we did get a nice little correction here of about what 50, 60 points, and then the bulls just came right back in and continued to chug. And still you could make the argument that from this last major high back here, we do technically still have a divergence going on, but at this point. I'm actually thinking that we're actually pushing up into a very strong zone of the RVI range here. And this, we could probably look at this now as a potential strong market for a breakout. But again, I'm going to watch this and we'll see what happens here. Outside of that, not much else to say here on the daily. Pretty much looks exactly the same as it did just a few days ago. We're just a few points higher here, getting very close to test that major rejection zone up there around 45.77. So let's just get into levels this morning and see. They're really was not much to add to the picture here on the higher time frames. So let's see if we get into the intraday time frames here, if we can't find some good levels to rely on coming into the open here. Um, just all these levels that we have above us are levels we talked about last week. So if we push up, remember we have the swing low around 45.65.50, and then from 45.65.50 up into these major highs. Again, going back to this double top where we found that rejection about a month and a half ago. Those highs are what we're going to be pushing up into. We already got through our 61.8. Remember that was a really nice little rejection from there, I think on Friday or the day before that. And now we're coming up, and that's our next expected resistance zone up there. So 65.50 up into the swing highs around 45.77. And then if the bulls continue to push through that major rejection zone there, we're going to be looking at pushing all the way up into the next shaded region, which is up around 45.95 to 98. So just be aware of those two levels up there. If we do push, it's not too far away. We could probably, with this kind of market, we could be up to 45.95, 4600 here in a matter of just a few minutes. So just be aware of those two levels. And what else can we say here from the 4 hour perspective? I forgot. Let me go back and put all the rays back on so we can take a look at the swings. Those up, those up. Okay, perfect. So if we push up, there's that 65.50 swing, and then a little bit further again is going to bring us right to that 4600 swing with again a little bit of a range there from about 45.95 into 4600. So got those on there. And then on a pullback, what we're going to do is go down into the 60-minute where we have all of our power levels, and we'll take a look at what we have below us here if the bears decide to go ahead and bring this down for a little correction. So we can look at the overall retracement of the leg, which would be from the major low at 41.29.50 up to the high we just made in the overnight session. And you can see that the 38 is bringing us right into this area around 97. 50% not necessarily lining up with anything sexy there. We'll revisit this if we start to really sell off. I'll come back and look at these retracement zones. But I want to focus in on what is going on up in this area over here. So let's see. Let's go down to the 10-minute or the 30-minute really quickly here and take a look at this immediate zone here because there's a whole lot going on. So if the bears jump in this morning and they get us through this orange power level here and then get through the 45.13 to 45.16 area right here, this little 3-point zone, it opens us up for a bunch of things below. And you can see I have them shaded here. I've got this 96.75 up into the swing high here at 98.50. So this little 2-point range. I've got this level marked right here at 45.03. So from 13, I think that opens us up for a nice push all the way to 03. And then if that breaks right into, again, 98.50 to 96.75 right there. And if that does break, we have this zone here, which is 50% of this whole leg right around the previous daily low. So right around, say, 44.92 to 44.93, give or take a few ticks. And then a little bit further down from there, we come into the swing high at 44.81. So remember, these are all targets. If it's heavy this morning, we'll get short into these levels down below. And then any further from 81, we're going to get back into that messy region right around 72 to 77 here. And if that ends up breaking, it brings us all the way down to this swing low at 44.58.50. And then from there, we're just testing these lows from last week. And then that opens us up to a much larger push down to 31 to 44.15 and then this zone right here around 4406 to 4411, which was a level we were watching for quite a while to the upside that we actually came right into and failed from right here at 4406 about a week or two ago. So those are some of the levels in the local area that I'm watching. Remember, we have no clue where the market's really going to go and bounce, or where it's going to push to and pull back from. So all we can do is lay out every level that makes sense, and then from there just trade to and from these levels. That's how I do it. Um, that's what's worked out for me. Just waiting for the market to come down into one of these zones and then looking for a nice signal to play and get in on a move. And again, using these zones as expected support and resistance areas to also take profit at. So that's kind of what we have for this morning. We've got a couple zones down below the current market price. And then up above us, remember I said we have 65.50 up into that 77, which is that major double top we made a while back. That's a really critical zone this morning for the bulls to get through. And then we do have some minor stuff on the way up there. So let me just mention that. If they do push through the overnight high, we do have somewhere around 55, 55.50, somewhere right around 45.66. Remember, 65.50 was the swing. And then it's back to 74 to 77. So there are one or two levels in here before we get up there. And then maybe we should mention once we get through 4600, what are we looking at above? If 4600 breaks, I think it's a nice clean push all the way to 4631, 4642, and 4658. So that's the levels that we're looking at for the beginning of the week here. And again, it's anyone's guess as to who's going to jump in here and become strong this morning. So I'm not going to prognosticate on a direction. Again, if I had a really clear indication of direction, we would mention it, but I just don't see anything right now. Just to look really quickly at divergence, let me just zoom back into my higher time frames on my other screen here. So weekly really not showing any clues for exhaustion on the current push. The daily again does have a potential bearish signal if we were to fail from the high from the overnight session. And then every other time frame has an argument for the bears off of that overnight high. But when we see that in a strong bullish push, it typically doesn't lead to much of a move. So just be aware this morning, if the market gets heavy and it starts to sell off, there is a good argument for a bearish divergence from the overnight high, on multiple time frames, all the way up from the daily, the 4 hour on down. So if the bears do get strong, that could mean that there's a larger correction due for the market, but we can't discount the fact that the bulls typically jump in and continue to push the market higher. So don't get married to a direction. That's why I tell my traders every morning. Even though all the signs are for a specific direction, in the blink of an eye, everything can change. There can be some new information that comes out, and the next thing you know, that grand short that you were in has now turned upside down on you. So that's all I have for you this morning. Have a great week. We'll be back here on Thursday to take a look at the market once again, and we'll see if we're in a new region of the chart. We'll start looking into some of the other major levels. So have a great rest of your morning, and I'll see you then. Take care.